Wow. Awesome. Hello and happy Thursday. We are so excited to have you join us today on this Lunch and Learn. My name is Maggie Nielsen. I'm a partner at Purse Strings. Purse Strings brings this financial education for our wonderful women, communities of women out there. Just some pieces of advice, some tips, some tricks. Let's get those wheels turning. But then a lot of times people ask, who can I go to? Who can I trust for all this financial information? And so we have our Purse Strings approved professionals who love to serve the female market, really understand the plight of women, want to help you hit your goals. We call this our Purse Strings approved professionals, and Alyssa is one of them. So we're so excited to have you on today to kind of talk about, once your kids go to college, kind of reevaluating things. Before we dive into all that fun, Alyssa, could you give us a little intro about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate you having me on here and being a Purse String approved professional. I work for CAM Investor Solutions. We are a fee-only advisor firm. We're small, independent, but we love our clients. We work mainly with women, with entrepreneurs, business owners, and families, and those like you all who maybe are recently, your kids left the house, they went to college, wherever they are, you're empty nesters and you're thinking about retirement. So that's why I'm here today to speak with all of you.
All right. Well, we're so excited to jump in. If anyone's tuning in, feel free to pop in any questions you may have. If you're watching the replay, you can still pop in a question and we'll try to get back to those and get them answered for you. So let's just kind of dive in. So if your kids moved out, why is it important now to reevaluate your cash flow?
It's a big question. There's lots of kind of answers to it, so I'll try to unpack it a little bit. So it depends on if they've moved out and they've gone to college and you're still supporting them or not supporting them. But it's really important because if you are supporting them in any way, you probably have put together a budget for them so that you can help them with their expenses wherever they are. And that budget is just kind of one lump sum you're giving them. And so that's important for them to learn how to manage money, how to stick with that budget, and kind of start putting those boundaries between you and them of what you're going to pay for and what they are ultimately going to be responsible in taking over, and launching as independent full adults, taking over all of their own expenses. So that's one reason. If you aren't supporting them, then you have this extra cash flow, probably, I would hope. And it's easy to do what we call lifestyle creep. So you have that extra cash flow and you're not really planning for it, like specifically, I'm going to save this or I'm going to use it for that. And so you might go out to eat more, you might go on more vacations, you might spend more on clothes. And before you know it, that extra cash you had is gone. And you could have saved it for a number of reasons. So it's important to really know what you're spending once the kids are out of the house and what's truly your kind of monthly expenses. It also helps to answer the big, huge question every financial advisor gets is, can I retire? When can I retire? Do I have enough to retire? Yeah. And Maggie, I don't know if you recall this, years ago, decades ago, people used to say, oh, if you have $1 million, then you have enough to retire. Or $1.5 million or $2 million. There was some big number that, like, if you had this giant pool of money, that was enough. But that's a really hard, like having a big number is a really hard concept to think about. How do I make that giant pool of money last 20, 30, 40 years, however long you live after you retire? So for our clients, we like to think about it in a monthly expense. So knowing your post-kid life, how much are you actually spending every single month? That's going to be a lot closer to what you would spend in retirement. So let's say you were spending $8,000 a month with your kids home. Now you're spending $5,000 a month with no kids. That $5,000 a month is going to be a lot better kind of yardstick of what you actually need in retirement. And then that helps us as advisors say, okay, you need $5,000 a month. You're going to retire at this age. You think you're going to live about this long. So you need this pot of money, this sum of money. So those are all kind of reasons why Once the kids move out or aren't being supported by you, it's really important to reevaluate and think about what you have and how you can use or save that extra money.
Yeah, lifestyle creep is a very real thing. And I can see, wanting to spend some of that on yourself now that you have that extra cash, which is not wrong, but you just want to make sure you're doing everything kind of strategically, let's say. But as all mothers, I feel like, experience, everyone comes back home at some time. And so I know, like, as our family, I remember that holidays, summer, we would come home and it was always like a big Costco haul, or we wanted to do some fun family activity. And so, month to month, it seems very different what your budget might be. And so how can you kind of go about, budgeting for these things or for this big influx?
Yeah, that's a great question. And hopefully your kids are coming home, right? And you're having big events and celebrations. So while it might be a little painful, it's also kind of a nice event to see them after they've left the nest. So we suggest that when you create your budget post kids, you basically kind of redo it. Create a line item or several line items in there for those holidays. So you might want to create a gift line item. And so you start budgeting, I'm going to save $50, $100, whatever it might be, every month in the gift bucket. And so when it is time for birthdays, for holidays, you kind of already have basically built that in over the year. And the same thing for holidays and big gatherings where you're spending a lot more on groceries. Put that in the budget and have it saved. So if you're like me, I use my credit card for everything. I use it responsibly. I pay everything off, at the end of the month. But what you can do with your budget is you can start putting it in a savings account and either pay with it directly if you don't want to use a credit card, or when you do put it on the credit card, you've already been saving that amount every month. And so you have it then to pay off the credit card. So let's say you think 2 or 3 gatherings a year might be $1,500 worth of extra groceries. Just bucket that out 12 months and put that in your budget and save it. You can even open savings accounts. I would highly recommend probably something like a high yield savings account where you're getting more interest, because that money is just sitting there and you're just going to use it 1-2 times a year, and start saving it and name it. That's like really good. If you
That's
name
my favorite
things,
thing.
yes, name it and say, this is the money for XYZ. It's going towards that thing. And so that way, you won't be using it for, I don't know, girlfriend's weekend or something else.
Yeah, I always know that when my brother would come home from school when I was living with my mom, it was a huge Costco haul. And, boys being boys, he ate a ton of food and his buddies would be over. And it was just like, we never had this much food in the house. Like, it was a huge influx.
Yeah.
So then there's that other side of things is, kids might come home, but you might want to see your kids at school, whether that's a flight, maybe a long drive, maybe they stayed closer. But how can you budget some of this now that you're flying multiple times a year to see them, or, doing 8-hour drives every couple of months to see them?
Yeah, the same thing. Again, I would recommend putting that savings account and putting a line item in your budget, and know that you're going to try to go see them X amount of times and about how much that's going to cost you. And then you can just start saving monthly for it, so that when it does happen a couple times a year, you have that money. I mentioned credit card. Again, if you can use it responsibly where you're going to be paying it off, you can use credit cards that have points. So you can get air miles that really help, especially if you sign up for a credit card with an airline company. They tend to give you more miles, or cash back. That helps too. And another thing is, hopefully your schedule's more flexible now that the kids aren't there. You're not stuck to a school calendar year, so you can travel maybe during the week. And so flights would be cheaper then. If you're driving, gas, we can't control the gas price. So unfortunately, that is harder to do. But with those points, you can save money or earn more money and pay for gas that way. Another one I like is kind of teaching your kids responsibility and their desire to see you. So if your kid has a job and is saving any kind of money, I know for me, it's always hard when it's holiday time or birthday time to know what I want to get my parents for a gift. And if you say, hey, how about this year, your gift to me is paying for my travel or contributing towards the travel. It puts a little, one, creates an easy gift idea for them. And two, kind of gives them the incentive, to want to see you and get them to have that work ethic to start contributing towards family expenses, like you coming to see them, or vice versa, them coming home. Like if they're like homesick and they say, I want to come home now, you can say, have you been saving for it? We didn't plan for it. It's not in the budget. You weren't going to come home till Thanksgiving. Something like that will give them more motivation to work a little harder.
Yeah, I've definitely had the flight home as a gift before, which could be a lot of fun. And sometimes, the gift is just a nice family meal out. If you already budget for a family meal, but kind of encompass that in a gift as well, because family and time together is really priceless. So it's the best gift that you could really have, I think.
That's what we do with my parents and my in-laws. We just for we're adults now, so birthdays are just like, let's go out to eat and enjoy time together. We don't really need to exchange gifts anymore. So
it's a great way to just reconnect and spend that time together. So then when people are thinking about themselves in retirement, are there different money moves people should start making in this phase, where they might be maybe spending less, but maybe still working, maybe have some extra income?
Yeah. So the standard advisor spiel is that it depends on everyone's income and what they've saved and all that kind of stuff. So it's dependent on each person. But absolutely, if you're still working and your kids have moved out and you have extra cash, you could consider putting more money in your 401k or an IRA or Roth IRA. So make sure you're contributing to those retirement accounts. We also highly encourage our clients to have taxable investment brokerage accounts. We really want clients to be able, when they retire, to have cash flow flexibility. And what I mean by that is that you get to choose where your cash comes from, your income comes from in retirement. So most people are probably going to get Social Security. That's just given. You're going to get it. That is taxable income. But in retirement accounts, you are at a certain age required to start taking money out. And so that forces you to have a taxable event, and you may or may not want to or need that cash. So some people don't need the money from their 401k, but they have to start taking it. And so they have to pay the tax on that. If you have a taxable brokerage account, that's just any account you can open with Fidelity, Schwab, anybody, that money, yes, you pay tax on it when you sell your investments if you have a gain, but at the same time, you control 100% when you take that money out and when you want to use it. So if you have extra cash and you're already doing everything with your retirement accounts, and even if maybe you're not, if you just want to have that extra flexibility, a taxable investment account is a good one to add to your bucket of kind of, we call it asset location, where your money is stored. It's also a really good time age-wise. So the best time to think about and purchase long-term care insurance is between like 50 and 65. We don't sell insurance. We are, like I said, fee only, so we don't sell products, but we encourage our clients to start thinking about who is going to take care of them, where are they going to live, how is it going to be paid for. So all of those considerations, this is the time to start thinking about that. We all hope our children will be successful and compassionate and want to come see us. But not everyone wants their children to take care of them and see them in that older phase of life when maybe they can't take care of themselves. So start thinking about that now. It's good. Either route is fine. You either are going to save the money and you're going to pay out of pocket for it. But it's good to know that now and start, maybe again, put an account aside, an investment account, savings account, probably more of an investment account because it's going to be a while, hopefully, until you need that money. Or start shopping around for long-term care. It's come a long way. It's gotten a lot better in what they offer and the rates. So that's another opportunity. If there's extra cash, start that investment plan for how your end of life or kind of older years in life, how is that going to be supported?
That's a great point. On Monday, we just had a different conversation about long-term care insurance, and it is a lot to think about. It's also way more expensive than I thought it would be, which was amazing. And that's the thing, is you don't really want to rely on like Medicare, Medicaid places, because those are probably not where you want to be if you had your ideal situation. So it is important to plan for that next half or quarter that you have going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It is expensive. It's not for everyone. And so that's something to look into. And then if you decide not to do it, which is totally fine, you just want to make sure you have that money set aside. So there's not any questions when you get older, who's going to be taking care of you. You know, you're going to have that financial means to stay at home and maybe have the nurse come to you and not have to go to a facility. I know my own mother, she's terrified of living in a facility and elder abuse and all that kind of stuff. And so we've talked about it and said, okay, Mom, instead of going on 10 trips a year, maybe you go on 2 trips a year, whatever it is in retirement, that you're able to kind of save that extra money so that she can have the quality of care she wants.
Which I love that you're having that conversation together. Because otherwise it might just fall on you, or people assume that their kids are going to take care of them. And as being the kid, if I was told that, I might pay it for you, because that might be, something I'd rather do, just because of everything that's going on. So even if your kids are your plan, let them know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I absolutely want to be there my mother's entire life, father's entire life, but I want to spend quality time with them and not be the nurse. I don't know how to do that. That's not in my wheelhouse.
They don't want me bathing them. That's not,
yeah.
No, we're going to draw some lines.
Exactly.
So, now you have this free time, hopefully, that your kids are out of the house and people are trying to find, things to keep them busy, hobbies that they've had, they've been wanting to do, that you've, kind of been putting off. Is it okay that you're spending all this extra money now on yourself and kind of finding, yourself and things that you love again?
Absolutely. I mean, as a working mother, I know how much I spend on my children and how much of a sacrifice they are every single day. And I don't get to do the things I want or spend the money on myself like I used to. And so I know how hard I'm working and how little of that I'm getting to keep at this moment. And so looking back at my own parents, I don't begrudge them at all in retirement for spending the money on themselves, because they earned it. They worked hard for it. They sacrificed a lot for me and my brother. So we encourage our clients to spend. Don't feel guilty. Pre-kids, you didn't feel guilty. You spent, you did your hobbies. And then, there's this period of your life where you had kids, and then all of a sudden, sorry, the camera keeps kind of phasing out. Then like it's kind of odd that you would feel guilty, but we've spent so many years caring for our kids. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just kind of natural to feel a little bit of guilt. The other thing is you got to fill your time, right? Your kids aren't there. You're not driving them around anymore, or going to their events. They probably don't want you calling them every day or showing up at their whatever they're doing all the time now. So you've got to find your own thing now. And sometimes those hobbies can be inexpensive or free, but sometimes they will have a cost to them. And like we were discussing, you will hopefully have that extra cash. You're not spending an extra $300-400 a month or week on groceries for hungry growing kids. Maybe that is money you can spend on those hobbies. Again, it all depends on kind of how your budget looks and how you feel, like how you're doing towards your retirement goals. So if it's in the budget to spend some extra money on hobbies, on travel, we absolutely encourage our clients to do that.
Yeah, you got to find yourself. You got to take care of yourself. You've been working hard for the past 18 years, raising, another child, another human.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're in a new phase again. You're kind of back to the self phase. Like, it's my life, my time, and you've got to do something with it, and you want to enjoy it. So, and I don't think your kids would begrudge you at all, since they're off doing their own thing. And so they probably want to see you happy, not moping and sad that they're gone.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, it does seem like it's a great time to kind of reassess, see where you're at for retirement, kind of think about, on your retirement plans, think about what you might want to do in retirement, and kind of plan out, when do you want to travel, either to see your kids or just in life, and when are people going to come home, and can you fly or can you drive, and kind of map some of those things out so you can make accounts for them, plan for them, and kind of have those resources set aside so when things come up, you have the money there.
Yeah, I think it's also a similar phase when parents go through like kids in daycare and not in daycare, right? Daycare is so expensive, and then you're like, oh yay, I have this extra $800,000-$900,000 a month per kid once daycare's
Unreal.
over. But it's not really, because then you have after school care, you have summer camps, you have other things. So there's various phases in life where there's big expenses and then those go away, but you have to reallocate the money and redo your budget to figure out, okay, so instead of thinking I have an extra $1,000 a month, we could go, do like a trip every other month or something like that. You've got to think about those other expenses that come in. So there are other expenses in retirement, those hobbies, that travel you've been wanting to do. I know for me, probably when my kids are out, we're probably going to get all new furniture, right? Like
Yeah.
there's kids not all over coming from practices all smelly and sweaty, or dropping food on the couch, or, been wanting to paint the walls in your house because they're not there to mess them up or whatever. So there might be like those projects you want to do once they're out. So you just have to think about the budget and not just let it go, because you're missing that opportunity to save for other things, or to, again, that lifestyle creep just coming in and eating up that money that you're like, I really wish I could buy a couch, but I went out to eat every day.
Yeah, that's a great point, because most of the times it's still just as expensive, but reallocated to different things. No matter where you are in life, it's a reallocation of that same money, just to different areas.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this has been a lot of great advice, and I think at the end of the day, we can say, talk to a professional, because everyone's story is so unique. We like to, nobody's cookie cutter. And so talk to someone, get some advice, and see, where you are at on some of these goals, and how can we reallocate some of this money, and make sure our retirement is great and today is great as well. Are there any last pieces of tips, tricks, pieces of advice that you want to make sure is shared today with our community?
The one other thing I just thought about is maybe the kids are out and you're not supporting them with their entire life, but college debt is expensive. Trying to get your first job and living on your own is expensive with housing and everything. So if you do have extra money and you're good on finances and retirement, maybe thinking about how can you support your grown children financially, just so they have a better head start, so they're not struggling and piling up debt. So that's another opportunity if you have extra cash and you just want to make it a little easier on them, because I know it's expensive getting out on your own for the first time.
Yeah, I know I definitely had some weaning off, it was most of my bills, and then I took on the car insurance, and then I took on the phone bill, and it's just bit by bit. It does add up, but it was just kind of weaning off the family and into my own life,
Yes.
because it is expensive. But I do want to highlight your point there of knowing that your retirement and things are set first,
Right.
because
Absolutely.
you want to there's no extra time to make that up, where your kids can have a lot more time to come out of debt. Because I know parents keep putting their kids first, and sometimes you do have to put yourself first. Make sure your retirement is fully funded.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, think about that long-term care. Think about how you're going to pay for your treatment and the end of life, because again, that nobody else is going to take that on for you. So to make sure that's all set, retirement set, and then help your kids out if you want to and if you can.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Alyssa, and giving us this great advice. Is your email the best way for people to reach out to you if they have any questions or would like to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can email me. It's Alyssa sorry, the camera's freaking out. Alyssa@caminvestor.com. So just my first name at caminvestor.com, or on our website, caminvestor.com. There's a calendar link where you can schedule time directly with me. If you want to set up a meeting really quick and we don't have to go back and forth on dates and times, that's the best way to get a meeting really quick.
Awesome. So yeah, her email's been going through the bottom here. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you can check her out on our site, pursestrings.co. But I appreciate all this great advice. If anyone has any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to Alyssa, reach out to Purse Strings. We're here and happy to help you. And we're excited for you to go on this new chapter of life as an empty nester. So thank you again, Alyssa, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thanks, Maggie.
All
Take
right,
care,
bye.
everyone. Bye.